Hi there, eighth graders. This is a lesson about leadership to get you thinking about and planning for the history assessment Hall of Fame. First off, what is a leader? Well, I looked it up, consulted my friend, your friend too. A leader, obviously a person who leads others along a way, a guide, one in charge of or in command of others, the head of a political party or organization, one who has an influential voice in politics, the conductor of an orchestra, band, or choral group, the principal performer of an orchestral section, such as the first violinist, or the foremost horse or other draft animal in a harnessed team. We're looking more for the first definitions there, obviously. I also looked it up in my DWP information. Leaders, they see the needs of others and they consider them important. It's focusing on others. They stand on the side of truth, even if they stand alone. They are resolute, they have fortitude, they have courage, and they act on behalf of another, even if they are inconvenienced. According to these criteria, are you a leader? Well, your task here for this History Hall of Fame is to choose a leader. And it starts with the essential question: how have leaders influenced society and the course of history? And your task: you have been chosen to be on the selection committee for the newly created History Hall of Fame. Your task is to select a historical leader and analyze his or her influence on society and the course of history. I want to show you some samples and give you some possible ideas of leaders that you might want to consider. There are 3 parts to this assessment: a report, a project, and a presentation. The report is talked about in guideline number 2. Your report needs to be 2 to 3 pages long, double-spaced, normal margins, and there are 5 parts that you must include about your leader. Those are listed there in guideline number 2. I add an additional paragraph. I would encourage you to have a paragraph for each one of those 5 parts. The additional paragraph is your first paragraph, an introduction. Set it up for us. And then ideally, a conclusion should circle back and tie back or link back to your introduction. Your conclusion, might actually be the final section there. Explanation of cultural or economic impact made by the leader. So what I recommend: 6 paragraphs, an introduction, brief biographical information. You do not need to tell me about their entire life. Brief. Challenges that this leader faced. What obstacles were in their way. Contributions. What did this leader give? What was important about this leader's leadership, I guess you could say. Their political or their religious ideals. Many of you are probably going to pick someone in politics, someone possibly in religion. Write about what are their values when it comes to those areas. And then finally, impact. What's the legacy of this leader? That's the report part, 2 to 3 pages. I have some samples here to show you. Nelson Mandela. And you can see I've marked this one here. I go through it and I write down if you have the 5 parts. So here's the bio for Nelson Mandela. And then it continues from there. I circled down here at the bottom, challenges. So there's the section where Alyssa wrote about the challenges. She writes about his Christian faith. And then she sums it all up with his contributions and his impact. I believe this one was about 3.5 pages long. Rebecca Leader, she chose Jesus as her leader. This one was quite lengthy as well. Almost 5 pages in length. Yours does not need to be that long, but if you're wordy and have a lot to say, there's a lot we can say about Jesus. Mother Teresa, This one was right at 3 pages. St. Pope John Paul II. This one was right at 3 pages. If you're passionate about someone, like Garrett Bushcamp is passionate about Ronald Reagan, I think he wrote about 6 pages. 2, 3, 4, 5, oh no, almost 7 pages. Everything you want to know about Ronald Reagan. All of these are very well-written papers. So you can see 2 to 3 pages, possibly a little bit more about your leader. That's the first part. The next part, project. There is a whole list of possible projects here. Play to your strengths. What is something that you can create? It might be something you create online. It might be something that you actually make. But like I said, play to your strengths. I want to show you some samples. I've got a lot of these. I have a lot of posters. So Ronald Reagan, that's obviously Garrett's. This one was really cool, Rosa Parks. So it's big here. It's a bus, half black, half white. And then in the windows, that's pictures of Rosa Parks throughout her lifetime. Oh, this was Paris. This one is very cool. It's a poster about Julius Caesar. Very simple, but this project has a lot of impact. Should recognize the quote there, I have a dream, Martin Luther King Jr. Amelia Earhart, you can notice, captions, pictures, drawings, etc. Benjamin Franklin. This was a unique one, Crazy Horse, and it's actually a board game about him. I've never had a student do that before. Henry Ford. Pretty inspiring quote there. Another very inspiring quote, Mother Teresa. Another Martin Luther King. Oh, let me get in the screen there. Nelson Mandela. This one I think is simple and beautiful. Mary. And another Mother Teresa. Now these are actual projects that I have samples of. I don't have video samples or acting samples. I have had students act as their leader. I know some schools do this. They even have their students dress up and portray their leaders, kind of like the 4th graders do with their saints. If you feel inspired, go for it. Dress up as your leader that you chose and make a video. I would love to see that. So lots of possibilities for your project. That is the second part of this task. The third part is to present it. The paper here says 2 to 4 minutes. Honestly, 1 to 3 is fine. What I'm looking for here for your presentation, I should tell you first what I'm not looking for. I seriously do not want you to take your paper, your report that you wrote, and read it out loud to me. Oh dear, please do not do that. This should be an actual presentation that you're hitting the high points. Maybe go through each of those 5 areas that are listed in guideline number 2 and pick out 1 or 2 things from each part. That makes an outline for your presentation. It's like you're giving a short speech about this leader. Use your poster. You should have this up and be referring to it as you do your presentation. This gives you something to look at and it gives you some information. So definitely utilize your project. If you are acting out, creating a video of some kind, there's almost a blending of your project and the presentation. So it's totally okay to kind of blend the two, if that makes sense. If you have questions about this, please contact me. There are due dates for each of the parts. Make sure you look at the history plans. This will be week 3, week 4, and week 5 for history here. Do little parts at a time. There are certain days to do research and write your paper. There will be certain days for you to do your project. And then there'll be time for you to work on your presentation and then get that sent to me as well. I look forward to seeing who you choose for your leader. I look forward to seeing your projects and watching your presentations as well. Good luck.